Welcome to another episode of the Pulse of East Providence with Mayor Bob DaSilva. Our administration has a priority to make sure that we get information out to our community about some of the great things impacting our residents and people who visit our community. On today's show, we have an incredible guest who works with our veteran community. I want to welcome to the show Kasim, the Director of Veteran Services at the Rhode Island Office of Veterans Affairs. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Mayor.
Look, we've had some great people come before us here on the show to talk about some of the services to our veterans. I've had the incredible pleasure of seeing you in action in different capacities, and you really are an incredible advocate for our veteran community. Before we get into the services that you provide and all the work that you do, can you tell the community a little bit about yourself, your background, and how you came to be in the position you're in today?
Well, thank you, Mayor, for allowing me to. And it starts with leadership. And so thank you for your service. And I remember when I first met you in your office, you had just got elected, and you talked about being engaged in the community and doing more for our veterans. So you motivate me to provide this service. It's humble to be for you today, be on your show. I'm a humble servant, Kasim Yarn. I was born and raised in Jackson, Mississippi. Southern boy for all intents and purposes. I remember like it was yesterday, summertime, me growing up in Crystal Springs at my grandmother's house and running around barefoot, staying out, not doing too much trouble, just doing what kids do in the summertime with your grandparents. So humble beginnings. I joined the military when I was 17, be part of something bigger. I wanted independence, and I was a straight A student, but I thought it was just an opportunity for me to grow, mature, but also to be an earner. I knew I was going to be a college student. I was college bound, but I just put that on hold for. I think it was important for me to gain some maturity, but also to be part of something bigger than oneself. I joined the Navy, like I said, when I was 17. When I graduated, when I was 18 now, this is 1991, I remember graduating at 6 o'clock that night at the City Auditorium, and then the next morning, 6 a.m. in the morning, I joined in. I was off to boot camp in the Navy, and I've been loving life ever since.
Excellent. And now you serve, how many years did you serve?
Over 20 years active duty time, total
years.
25 years active duty from 17, I retired in 2016, and I've been living a dream.
Excellent, excellent. Well, thank you for your service to our country and our community.
Thanks, sir.
Now, you end up here in Rhode Island. How did this happen, and when did you find your way up this way?
It wasn't by accident. I remember when I was getting ready to graduate A school, right after boot camp, and I was number 2 student, salutatorian, I guess,
nice.
in my graduating class. And I could pick. They had a list, and so how it worked is from the highest ranking class member to the lowest, you get to pick your duty station. Here's my list of stations. I had Boston, Hawaii, Texas, Atlanta, Chicago. And I said to my instructor, I was like, I've not been to any one of these places, but can you help? What do you recommend? Where does the heart take you? Well, I know I was a basketball fan because I had played basketball, and I'm familiar with, Lakers, Celtics rivalry. So Boston. So I chose Boston, South Weymouth, Massachusetts, 20 minutes south of Boston.
Right.
And I started my infatuation love with New England. I remember making my first snow angel as an 18-year-old from Mississippi. There's a list of little things.
Yep.
And I made my first snow angel, and I've been loving snow ever since.
Really? That's fascinating. Well, the Northeast is a beautiful place, and what I love about the Northeast is the change in the seasons.
Yes.
You always have something to look forward to.
Yes.
We love summer. I love like an 80, 90 degree day. But then, at some point you start to like that fall weather, and sometimes you like that winter weather. There's always a change here in the seasons, which is wonderful.
Absolutely.
Now, tell us about. I know that you have a family. Tell us about your family. I know that you had some personal tragedy that you had to deal with. Can you share that? I think you're willing to share that with us.
Oh, absolutely. I got the position in 2016 under the former Gina Raimondo, of course, our secretary, honorable secretary. Today's her birthday, by the way, so wish her well wishes on her birthday.
Happy birthday.
And so my wife, my 2 children, a couple years back, we lost our son to addiction. And so as we know, this is Mental Health Awareness Month. Today, we're honoring our Mental Health Awareness Call for Action Day. So it's, in order to move the stigma, to reduce that about sharing, you have to share your life stories. And we know getting help looks differently for all of us. So if I can be a beacon of hope to share my story, that we're all vulnerable. We've all known somebody where we lost somebody to addiction. We continue to lose too many, especially when our younger generation too as well. And so part of my message, part of my service is to share my story, but also to identify resources that, like this city, to share with our veterans and military families, to give them the tools that they need to, when they come to that impasse along their life journey, they can get to an informed decision to help make it a right decision, to learn from others, to share in our stories. I remember when it first happened to me and my wife, I was asked to provide talking points and speak before a group of folks. And one of the mothers came up to me and she said, my son has been gone 17 years and he died the same exact way that you described to us. And thank you. And it was real. We hugged each other, we both started having tears, but 17 years since, and the mother's still carrying that burden. And so that's why it's so critically important to talk about, we identify resources for the person that experiencing that tragedy, experiencing those moments. But we also got to make sure we provide services to our caregivers and our families. Hence why what we're doing in East Providence coming up here regarding a resource fair is so critically important, because it's about community engagement, doing the health and wellness checks, checking in on your neighbor, and making sure we're doing the right things, being an active bystander in someone else's life. And also too, it's going to impact your life as well.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us. It's important to realize and for the community to realize that addiction can impact anybody. Doesn't matter what socioeconomic background you come from, doesn't matter what level of education or whatever it may be. Addiction can impact any family, and it's important to have services not only for those dealing with addiction, but the families, because they also deal with the pain and suffering and the grief that comes along with losing a loved one. I know that through your services, through your office, you're able to try to connect people with services. And you mentioned the expo a minute ago. We do have the expo that you have attended. At the recording of this event, at the recording of this show, the expo is in a few days. It's scheduled for a few days from today. But you went to last year's expo, and that is so important to connect people with services. Can you tell us about some of the services that you have available?
Well, we try to connect the veteran full array of services. I also directly oversee our veterans home in Bristol, and I also see our majestic memorial cemetery in Exeter, and everything in between, before and after. We help veterans, connect our veterans, enroll them in the VA healthcare system, which is so critically important in space where, of course, we know through the work that we're doing regarding suicide rates, those veterans that are succumbing to suicide, 60% of those that succumb to suicide are not enrolled in the VA healthcare system. That's a substantial number. Mm-hmm. So it's our duty to help them get to enroll, to meet our veterans where they are in the community, to educate them on the services that they're eligible for, but more importantly, connect them with their services. And if their family members and their caregivers need services and support, we connect them as well.
So you brought that up, and I know that you are the co-chair of the Governor's Challenge to Prevent Suicide amongst service members. Can you give us a little bit of background on what that initiative is all about?
Oh, absolutely. So it started out as the Mayor's Challenge, and so being outside is such our strength, we elevated it to the Governor's Challenge. Mm-hmm. We started out as the co-chair between Rhode Island Department of Health, but as we started to peel back the onion and started to get the right people in the room, there was an organization that was missing at the table, BHDDH, Buddha. And now that we have three of us and we all co-chair, so that way we're addressing the total spectrum of holistic look at the wellness of the veteran and to provide those services too. So the Governor's Challenge, it puts all of our community providers that are in this space, we meet on a monthly basis to talk about resources, or any events that are coming up, anything policy-wise that we need to change, anything legislative that we need to advocate for through our General Assembly, and also to provide additional resources to the community to connect those that they need it.
You know, when you mentioned Governor McKee and getting people together to get things done, that's been his MO. That's how he operates, and he really is a change maker. But he also has an incredible group of people to work with, such as yourself and the other people that you bring to the table. But let's say I'm a veteran or a family member and I need help. There's a number that people can call, correct?
Correct. 401-921-2119.
Okay.
921-2119. Or you can, if you're tech savvy, you can use your mobile device. You can go to our state's websites, vets.ri.gov. What I find is that should be the clearinghouse. Any questions, comments, concern that a veteran, a family member, caregiver, or an employer of a veteran can utilize our website for resources to connect information, frequently asked questions, DD-214, how to gain access to documents, what are the eligibility requirements for certain programs, all are contained on our website. Back in 2016, when I took the position, I was a veteran, I'm transitioning, and so I went along the line to do some research, like, okay, where do I go if I'm a veteran? Where can Kasim go to get some help? Let me go to our state's website. And quite frankly, it was an abomination. And I remember when I was doing the interview process, Governor, she asked me, well, are you going to fix it? Madam Governor, I'm not going to fix it. My staff is going to fix it, because it's about leadership. It's about managing things, but you lead people. But we have identified a concern and we've addressed it. So in September 2016, I had it nuked off the planet, and I reached out to RISD, one of the premier institutions in the world.
Yes.
And we helped rebuild our website. And a veteran and another student helped rebuild our website. And now it is the premier website for our veterans to utilize and their families for resources.
That's wonderful. Do you want to share that website one more time for our viewing public?
Oh, absolutely. vets.ri.gov, vets.ri.gov.
Easy enough, easy enough. Now, you were talking about before the show how you're constantly getting calls, your office is getting calls to connect veterans with services to help veterans, gain access to what they have coming their way. A lot of times the veterans are not aware that they have access to this program or that program or this program. Can you just share with the public some of the calls you get, some of the services you've been able to connect veterans with?
From our, as we know, we have an aging population in Rhode Island. And 80% of my constituency are over age of 55. And we're getting a lot of calls from the family members of mom and dad. They served. We need some assistance. We help them with some assistance. We need access to health care, giving them what are our options. And so we provide counseling, benefit counseling for the family members of our veterans to connect them with opportunities based on their character of service. Or we have, unfortunately, a veteran may pass or a loved one may pass, so they need access to their DD-214, which is their character of service. Our office connects them with that as well. Just this morning, we had a veteran that was incarcerated, recently released, eligible for VA health care, was not aware. And I called her this morning. She picked up the phone, and praise God, she's coming to our office next week to sit down so we can walk her through the process to get benefits that she's earned.
And I heard at last year's Expo, Matt Viena, who's with the East Providence Elks, and his team of people organized an incredible expo that, once again, at the taping of this show, it's going to be happening a couple of days from today. Hopefully the weather holds out. But at last year's event, they were able to connect veterans with benefits and your team was there, you were present. That's got to be so rewarding when you're able to connect somebody who needs dire help with the help that's available for them already. You brought
up Governor McKee's name about one team, and that expo, it illustrated the best who we are in Rhode Island, and we had to go to the townies in order to highlight that. But it talks about every one-stop shop in terms of resources. Everyone there on a weekend now, no bar none work day, but it illustrates to who we are, because we're asking providers to come to an event on the weekend and occupy their time with serving others and provide those services.
It was amazing to see how many people turned out. Like I said, hopefully the weather holds out and we can have another successful expo this year. Now you're celebrating 6 years in this role. Share with the public what that's been like for you.
It's been humbling. It's been a blessing. There's been some challenges along the way. A couple sleepless nights. But again, the one thing that keeps me up the most is knowing that we have veterans out there and they need services, and we can't reach them in that capacity. It's been a great journey. We got a lot left in the tank. We got a lot of things we need to accomplish. The governor has put some allocations in his budget to help us, continue that momentum. And it is just an opportunity that I get to serve those that serve. I am, 100% accountability, leadership. I am your chief advocate as our veterans, as a military families, to intercede on their behalf, to have that direct line to our governor, but also to across state government. We have 39 cities in town, all dedicated to supporting our veterans and our American heroes, and to be part of that journey, to work together with our municipalities. There is no greater blessing in my book.
You do an incredible job, and I've had the pleasure of seeing you at different events. I don't recall the exact event. It was an event down at the State House, and you got up and gave a speech, and kind of brought tears to many people in the audience, brought tears to their eyes. But you also bring smiles, and you like to liven up festivities. And tell me about these great costumes that you don during Christmas.
Man, you went right there. You've done your due diligence. You've done your research. No, 6 years ago now, Governor Raimondo, Secretary Raimondo now, she asked me, Kasim, can you do us an honor and be MC our Christmas tree lighting event? Being a service member, being on multiple deployments, being away from Christmas on multiple deployments, being away from home, period, through the defending this nation, Christmas is a special time, especially when it comes a week after Thanksgiving. And no other greater blessing, family and friends. And so I was like, Madam Governor, of course, I can't say no, come on. The boss asked you to do something, come on. It's just a no-brainer, like, duh, right? And so, but wait a minute, I'm taking a step back. I'm looking at, wait a minute. This is a chance to showcase the best of our state at the People's House. And we got children running around all the place, Christmas carolers, singing, Santa, Mrs. Claus, gingerbread houses, chocolate, hot chocolate, running around all the place. I got to get in the Christmas spirit, and I got to be that leader, and I got to set the example to be a 300-pound African-American male, but I can't take myself too serious.
Yeah.
Because what's the common denominator? That little child. And they like to see when they get a toy, and when they sparkle, when the big guy comes down from the North Pole, that's special. So I got to get into character. And so each year, I just add another little to the armor, a couple more items, accessories here and there too, and I get into character to set the tone.
Well, you bring a smile to my face every time
Thank
you do
you.
it. You bring a smile to my face. Now, you've got a great event coming up in June to honor some amazing veterans. I think this is the first one. Can you share some information about what's happening in June?
June 12th, 2 p.m. at the State House in the State Room, honoring our women warriors.
Okay.
We have the most diverse force in the history of America, and our women are leading the charge. Well, we need to continue to do more to honor their service, champion diversity, and our women warriors are doing more capabilities now. We're talking about flying combat missions, aircraft, leading submarines, being a submarine force, doing those warrior type of things that our women are more than capable of doing. And so that day, June 12th, 2 p.m. at the State House, we're going to take a moment to pause, and we're going to honor them the right way. Our elected officials are going to be there. We have a keynote speaker that are phenomenal. It illustrates past, present, and future. Talking about where we are as a nation, but more importantly, where we are now in terms of providing those services for our women warriors. But more importantly, is continue to inspire hope and provide those services for future generation of women warriors that chose to take an oath to defend this nation. And it's our civic duty to make sure that when they do come home, that we have all the tools that they need at their disposal to transition back into society and to be vibrant members throughout our communities across the state of Rhode Island.
Now, is this the very first event of this type?
No, we do them every year, but this one is the highlight. The first time we're doing it at the State House. We've done various venues across the state, different times, but this one is special because we're coming out of COVID.
Okay.
And we're together in order to participate. What better place to do than the People's House, other than what we call the State House?
That's wonderful. So that's going to be June 12th at the Rhode Island State House.
2 p.m.
2 p.m. at the State House. I will make sure I'm there.
I'll make sure we get the invite to you, man. Absolutely. Absolutely. Get the front row. We'll get you right up front.
Thank you. And speaking of wonderful events, we have annual Veterans Day ceremony that we usually have at Veterans Memorial Highway. Veterans Memorial Highway in East Providence, where we have the flight of flags.
And I did the dedication when we did that too as well, which is another special moment for East Providence.
That was wonderful, and we have our Memorial Day parade coming up soon, which is a beautiful tradition here in East Providence. Are there any other annual events that you want to share with the community that maybe we may have left out? I'm just trying to make sure that we touch base on all of the different events happening throughout the year that we may want to share with the community?
What we try to do to be engaged with the community is do town hall events.
Okay.
We do them at the college level, at the collegiate level, at the campus universities. Tomorrow, I'll be at New England Tech doing a town hall event for the student veterans there. You know, it's really about meeting our veterans where they are in the community, to capture that momentum from like the expo that you mentioned earlier, to meet our veterans where they are in the community, be it in the classrooms, in their homes, or in their workplace, or as they do their recreational leisure. We partner with our federal VA partners to provide resources at the Veterans Town Hall events with the recent PAC Act passage to allow more benefits for our veterans that served boots on the ground in areas that were exposed to burn pits and toxic exposures, providing resources with them. So we have federal partners that attend these various town hall events as well throughout the state. We hosted one in Providence, we hosted one recently at the Veterans Home, and we're doing to host one too in Northern Rhode Island as well. So every month there's an event. We have our community calendar hosted on our state's website, vets.ri.gov. In the top middle, click calendar events, and it lists you an array of events that are happening across the state for months to come as well. Community partners, we also allow our community partners to post something as well too, because again, it's about community engagement. We want to celebrate each other's successes, but also to support each other at the various events as well.
So you mentioned some of the services as I was listening to you were talking about the PAC Act. During your experience, what are some of the services that you've seen veterans trying to attain that you were able to connect them with that they had no idea was available to them? Because my biggest fear is that there are people out there right now listening who or maybe a family member who has a veteran who needs some help and is not aware that they have you as a resource, they have Veterans Inc., they have other resources throughout the state and the community. What are some of the most common ones that you see that maybe we can give people an example and that'll spark a light and they'll reach out to you or try to get connected with services?
Many of our veterans, when they transition back, they want to become entrepreneurs.
Okay.
And so we connecting with the Secretary of State's office. We Center for Women and Enterprises. They offer free services for our minority women veterans as well to provide them samples on how to generate their business plans. We partner with the Secretary of State. And once we identify a veteran who wants to start own their own business, we direct them to the Secretary of State's office. We walk them through the checklist to make sure that you're doing things the right way. And based on your business model, we connect our veterans through education, that they want to utilize their service to give back to the community. One partnership we have regarding Rhode Island College is that a lot of our veterans are utilizing their benefits to gain those social worker type of degrees, to be licensed in the state, and they want to work here in the state to connect our veterans with services to be more productive in the community. But we provide resources for them too as well, because we know that a veteran's experience is uniquely different when they go into the college or campus environment, because they're not like their average students. They've served this nation. They do have a little more maturity and more responsibility in that regard as well. And so, but they also require a certain set of needs also, and we provide services through our grant program, our state grant program, to also a little bit of funding to help with the campuses too, to say if a student veteran is back on a license renewal or needs some heating assistance and stuff like that, food support in that regards too as well. My office does provide some grant funding to assist the campuses to help those veterans in their time of need as well.
That's fantastic. One of the things that we're seeing throughout the state and the nation right now is the issue with homelessness, right? Mm-hmm. And we're trying to find more ways to bring more affordable housing to the state, and our community is working hand in hand with some great nonprofits to bring some of those opportunities to our residents and to those beyond. Now, we all often hear about veterans who are facing homelessness. What programs are in place? I know we have the VA home, but what can we do to try to get the word out on what we can do to help them?
I think it's community engagement. We got to know that there's no silver bullet to resolve this issue. But we also know we have which is misplaced, we know there's a problem, but not in my neighborhood. We've got to change that narrative to where we're all community, we're all citizens here working together. You can put anyone in that environment and they can end up the same, essentially.
Yes.
So we've got to change that narrative. We have to have that open discussion, civic discussion about, are we serious about We're reducing the stigma, but also more important, reducing homelessness. We know some of the offers that we offer, they're going to be homeless, but we also got to come to that realization as well. But we also got to know that we got to do a better job at providing services, because getting the home is one component of this. The other component is about providing those wraparound services, the job stability, the education requirements. Not too long ago, of the 10 jobs created, 7 of those jobs required a credential something other than a degree. Well, we need to go back into the adult force, like I said, our aging force. We need to go those adult learners. We need to make sure that they have the skills that they need, be marketable for those employers to get the skills in order to jobs that pay. And so that's another nuance about this there too, as we start to map out a strategy. No wrong door approach here. All hands on deck. We're confident in the abilities for the housing team that the governor has assembled, but it's all about community engagement as well. To have all 39 cities and towns on the same page, working to identify resources, working together. We know there are going to be some challenges, but let's get all those to light. Let's bring those to light. Let's start to identify ways to start to reduce some of those challenges. And then as we look back a little bit, we're moving the needle in the right direction.
Right, and you've mentioned a couple times throughout the interview that it's all about community engagement, getting the word out to the people, because not everyone has access to the same media. Not everyone's picking up the paper to read it. Not everyone's on social media. Not everyone's going to see this show on cable. There's got to be ways to reach out, and I know that there's a grant opportunity that our office will be applying for. You want to share that with me and the public?
So absolutely. So SSG Fox grant, this was created to reduce it was money that was allocated for the state to put out in the community to start to reduce the suicide rates amongst our veteran population, to meet our veterans where they are. Well, as we talked about, this fourth theme is community engagement. So this funding allows us to put some funding in the community because it's about building trust. Because if I come to the city of East Providence and I know that the mayor's got my back, well, this enables to give us some opportunities in order to continue that momentum by putting the fundings in the community to where it's needed the most, but also to identify resources, have those veterans to come in and sit down and talk about, to get connected with service providers, to sit down and discuss what are their issues, and okay, let's provide some resources to guide you on that way. And this funding here provides a little funding in your coffers, Mayor, potentially, to assist in that mission.
Well, Director Jan, I can't believe that our 30 minutes have already expired.
It happens. That's show business.
So much fun talking to you.
Business, Mayor. I told that show business. We have to take this up again.
We should do this an hour.
Part 2.
Long. But I want to say thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to meet with me today to share all of the great services you have available with the community. I did want to touch base on the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. Dial 988, then press 1 if you need assistance
for veterans.
If you need help for veterans, right? But you've been watching The Pulse of East Providence with Mayor Bob DaSilva, and we are going to continue to put these shows together to bring you the latest information that can help our residents. In today's case, we had an incredible guest from the Veteran Services Office who is here to help our veterans. And we hope that you will share this information out to people you may know who are veterans, who may need these services, and I hope to see you out there.